All right, hey everybody.
Hello.
So this is definitely not normal for us. This is kind of weird, but we're gonna make it work. We want to share with you guys a lesson every Sunday and every Wednesday, and we kind of chose the book of Esther is what we're gonna go with, and it's a pretty cool book. We'll share with you a little bit more about that here in a few minutes. But we want to start off with two questions, and what we want you to do with these questions is we're gonna want you to respond in the GroupMe app. Your answers. So the first question, we'll start off with something kind of silly, more fun. The first question we want you to answer, and we'll give our answers as well, is if you could be any Disney character, which one would you want to be? Which one maybe best describes you, or maybe it's just your favorite? So Morgan, what if you could be any Disney character, which one would you be?
This is not an easy answer because there's so many fun characters. I guess I'm going to go with Bo Peep, but Toy Story 4 Bo Peep. And this is really only because he was helping me think of characters, and she popped up, so it works. But she is, like, super adventurous and super fun, and she, like, will do whatever she needs to do for the people that she cares about. And she always does the right thing in the moment. For the most part, I don't know. She's fearless and she's fun and she's adventurous and she does what she loves.
All right, good answer.
What about you?
My answer is sitting literally right in front of you. I would for sure be Buzz Lightyear. Mainly because I love Toy Story, but mostly because he has wings and he can fly, and he's super cool. And I just want to be Buzz Lightyear. So that would be my answer. Our second question is what's the worst outcome of a choice that you had to make? So maybe you had to make a decision of maybe two different places you were going to go, and maybe the outcome didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. So what is the worst outcome of a choice that you made? Today we're going to talk about a story where there's some choices that had to be made, and so we want to get you thinking about that. They can be kind of a silly story, or it could be more of a serious story. I'll answer first this time. My answer would be when I was whatever age you are when you start riding your bike. I don't know what age that is, but I remember trying to convince my dad that I was ready to be off the training wheels, that I no longer needed to be assisted by them. So I convinced my dad to take off the training wheels. At the time, we lived at a house where the house kind of sat on a hill, and then it kind of went down a little bit of a hill, and there was the garage. And so my dad takes off the training wheels and he puts me on the bike, and I start pedaling, and I got it figured out, and he was kind of doing the dad kind of thing and holding on to the back, and I remember telling him to let go. And when he lets go, I ride the bike and I kind of lose control, and I go down the hill and I crash into the garage and I hit my head. Luckily I was wearing a helmet, but it was a choice where I was like, hey Dad, I can do this on my own, but maybe I wasn't quite ready, and so I took the punishment of having the embarrassing story of hitting the garage on my bike. So, what's the worst outcome of a choice you had to make?
Okay, so in 3rd grade, my mom was my student teacher, and the rule was once you went outside for recess went outside to the playground for recess, you weren't allowed to come inside the building for any reason whatsoever. So I got outside and my friend came to me and said, hey, did you bring the note? And I said, no, I forgot it. So what had happened is she and I had together written a note for the boyfriend that we shared, and I forgot it in the classroom. Well, my mom was our student teacher, so I thought I can go inside, I'll just go get it, it's no big deal. So we go inside, my mom's in there, asks why we come in there, and I told her I had to tell her something, and she said, well, I don't care. The rule is you're not allowed to come back in the classroom, so you're gonna go stand on the wall, which, you know, is our big punishment. There was a yellow line, you had to stand on the yellow line and stare at the building. So I start crying. That doesn't change.
Of course you did.
That doesn't change anything. She still makes me go stand on the wall. I don't get the note to give to our boyfriend, and not my friend, just me. I had to stand on the wall, and I cried the whole time I was on the wall. And my mom comes out later and says, so what is it that you had to tell me? And I said, I don't remember. And she said, well, it must not have been that important. And I don't know if I ever truly told her it was because I came in for a note from my boyfriend at the time. But, so that was the consequence, the repercussion I faced for breaking the rules of going inside to get a note. So that's my story.
All right. Well, good answer. Well, we hope that you guys will choose to write out maybe a couple of your answers on the group me. Actually, we encourage you to, because here in a little bit we're going to draw a name for our gift card. But we chose the book of Esther because in the book of Esther, if you read it, God is never mentioned in the book of Esther. It's one of the few times in the Bible and different books where God's really not mentioned. There's no miracles. You don't hear from him. There's never a moment where God says, hey, Esther, go do this. He's just kind of silent throughout the whole story. And it kind of feels like maybe how some of us are feeling right now. This is a time of just, this is so unusual for all of us. I mean, we're kind of stuck in our house. And maybe you're saying, hey, I can't really feel God, or I don't see God working in this. Hopefully, as we dive through this book of Esther, you'll see how God kind of has his way of working in the background sometimes, even though maybe he's not making himself real present. And so today we're going to start in Esther chapter 1. And if you haven't read it, I encourage you to just pause this video, go back, read Esther chapter 1, and then come back on. Because we're just going to kind of highlight a couple things. Today we're not actually going to meet Esther. That'll be later on, probably on Wednesday when we meet Esther. So in Esther chapter 1, you have a king by the name of King Xerxes. And King Xerxes is kind of a popular guy. He's a king, so he has a lot of power and he has a lot of wealth. Well, King Xerxes decides that he's going to throw a party for all of his officials. So everybody that's important to Xerxes is invited to this party. And basically what Xerxes was trying to do is show off everything that he had. He wanted to show off his wealth. He wanted to show off his possessions. And he threw a party, but it wasn't just any kind of party. This party lasted for 6 months. So it'd be like if you had a birthday party and you invited your friends over to your house, they would never have left for 6 months. And so basically he was just showing off and saying, look, I have all of this food that you can eat, and I have all of these things that you can do. For 6 months he entertained them. Well, after the 6 months, King Xerxes decided to invite everybody to the party. He wanted anybody and everybody that could come to his house to come to the party. And so for 7 days, he holds a party for everybody in the land. And around the 7th day, he maybe doesn't make one of the most wise decisions. He is with his buddies, and he decides, hey, I'm going to call for my wife. And I want my wife to come show off for everybody. I want to show everybody how beautiful she is. I want to show everybody just who my wife is. And so Xerxes does probably not the most respectful thing. He objectifies his wife. He makes her an object. He doesn't care about her feelings. He doesn't care about what she thinks. He doesn't care about how it's going to affect her. He just wants her to stand in front of people so people can look at how beautiful she is. And there's this response here because he sends for her. He sends a message for somebody to go get his wife. And so she has this choice that she's left with. Morgan's going to read verse 12 for you. It's going to tell you the response of how she responds to being told that she's going to just come and stand before all the people.
Verse 12 says, but when the attendants delivered the king's command, Queen Vashti refused to come. Then the king became furious and burned with anger.
And so she has this choice that she has to make, and many of us are left with choices every day. Maybe they're serious choices, maybe they're not so serious choices, but we all feel pressure when we have to make choices. The pressure to maybe do what is right. Maybe the pressure of maybe just picking the easiest choice. Some of us, that's our fallback. We'll just pick the easiest one, or we'll pick the most safe option. Or some of us, when we try to make choices, we just make the choice that everybody expects us to make. And so the choice that everybody expected Queen Vashti to make would be to just come stand before all the people and show off her beauty. But she, in verse 12, Morgan read it to you, she refuses to do that. And we're going to see that there was consequences with her choices. Now, she didn't know what was going to happen when she decided to take that stand. But in verse 19, Morgan's going to go ahead and read that for you. We see kind of the outcome of what takes place here in verse 19.
It says, therefore, if it pleases the king, let him issue a royal decree and let it be written in the laws of Persia and Media, which cannot be repealed, that Vashti is never again to enter the presence of King Xerxes. Also, let the king give her royal position to somebody else who is better than she.
And so here's what happens, guys. If you read the story, she gets banished. banished from the kingdom. She's told that she's not allowed, she's no longer the queen, she's no longer allowed to see the king, and she's no longer to live in the palace. And so her choice, although it was the right choice, it had an outcome with it, and it wasn't the greatest for her. But what we can learn from this is that sometimes even doing the right thing, or maybe sometimes doing the right thing is going to maybe not end up in the way that you want it to. You know, when she made the choice to not go stand in front of the people, she probably wasn't hoping to get kicked out of the kingdom, but she made the choice that was right in her mind. And so I know that all of us have choices that we have to make, and I don't think, reading through this, Queen Vashti wasn't a follower of God at this moment. She believed in different gods, but she knew in her heart that this was a choice that she needed to make. And so for many of us as Christians, as young people, we have choices every day. It's just a reminder as we dive into Esther that our choices are very important, and sometimes we got to lay out what's going to happen and make the right choices. So as we dig deeper into Esther, you're going to actually meet Esther. This kind of opens the door for Esther to enter the story, and we hope you'll tune in with us on Wednesday as we kind of introduce who Esther is. And so we want you to respond to our questions. We do have our name for the week. This person will get a $5 gift card. You can just tell me in the GroupMe app what you want, and I'll send it to you this week. Our winner is...
I can't get one.
If she can ever pick one.
Maylee.
It is Maylee. All right.
Maylee McIntyre.
Maylee McIntyre. All right. So, Maylee, if you'll put in the GroupMe what kind of gift card you want, I'll send you a $5 gift card for wherever you want. So, thanks for checking it out, guys. Stay safe. We love you, and we miss you.